Good day. Hello, friends, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Wayne Elliott, and this is the Health and Wellness Show. So thankful that you have joined in to listen in today, and we'll be we'll be hearing some interesting things about heart health today. Uh, our topic, this will be aired on the radio Thursday evening, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can hear the show. And the topic today is how to age successfully, aging successfully. I think to most of us, that certainly means that we like to feel good, like to be mobile, maybe still, if we have our car, driving our own car, social interaction, and feeling like doing these things. I think that's what it means to most of us. But what we're going to do today is let's dig into how we do it. How do we age successfully? And how do we get there? It's what we all want. And how do we get there? So, welcome our guest again, Dr. Michael Garkle. Good morning, Doc. How are you doing?
Good morning, Wayne. Nice to see you. This is a great topic. Over the years, I've spent, I can't even tell you, countless hours thinking about this, writing about it, talking about it, giving talks on it. It is one of the most interesting topics because it involves everybody, aging, the process of aging. Nobody escapes it. And I'm so glad that you're going to talk about this today. And it turns out, because you and I talk a lot about cardiovascular health, what the audience is going to learn today, that cardiovascular health is really one of the key factors in aging successfully for a number of reasons. So we'll get into this. It's really a sort of a paradoxical topic, Wayne. On the one hand, it's a lot of fun to talk about, but on the other hand, aging is really, for some people, a very difficult topic to discuss. But we'll try to be optimistic as possible here.
Well, there's a bit of an art to aging successfully. There's no doubt. I think one of the things I've learned the hard way is to know your limitations, your healthy limitations, and that applies to everything: what we eat, what we drink, what we do, uh, everything in moderation. But yeah, it's there's a lot of people that suffer and are bedridden and wheelchairs and not mobile or can't drive anymore. Life certainly can change a lot. I mean, let's face it, we generally use the healthcare system more as we're in our senior years by average, and here in Canada, we didn't do so well in the pandemic. We lost the most seniors, despite having tens of millions of vaccination doses that spoiled, that expired before they got used, and over 90% of the population was vaccinated. But we didn't do so well overall, it turns out. And
It's a shame.
Aging successfully, it's pretty darn important. You want to, while you're here, you want to feel like being here. You want to be happy that you're here, not
Absolutely.
not wanting to leave. So this is important. And so, how do our arteries play such a major role in this aging successfully, Doc Garko?
Wow. That's there's an old saying in the world of health and medicine and nutrition. You're only as old as your arteries. And gosh, that is so true.
Yeah.
We're going to get to that. And it's important for people to understand. You have your chronological age. That's a way to keep track of time. Those are calendar years. It's on your birth certificate, your driver's license, and whatnot.
Yeah.
But there's another form. There's another type of aging. There's your age, your biological age, your functional age.
Yeah.
So, for example, a person can be 60 years old chronologically, but biologically, functionally, they could be 45 or 50. Or you have somebody who is
or
50
80.
or 80. You could
Yeah.
have somebody who is 40 years old chronologically, but biologically they may be 60 or 65 because the state of their health is so in such decline, and it's not good. I'm going to read a quote to you. When I give talks, I read this quote and then I ask the audience who said it. And the quote is this: the fact is, quote, the fact is that when I come to think it over, I find that there are four reasons for old age being thought unhappy. First, that it withdraws us from active employments. Second, that it enfeebles the body. Third, it deprives us of nearly all physical pleasures. And fourth, that it is the next step to death, close quote. And then I asked the audience, who said that? Was that the U.S. Surgeon General? Was that Dr. Oz? Was that Jack LaLanne? Was that Cicero or Benjamin Franklin? And nobody ever guesses that it was Cicero, who was an ancient Roman rhetorician and philosopher. So it goes all the way back in time, Wayne.
Yeah.
Humans have thought about and talked about aging. So, you know, you remember Jack LaLanne.
Yeah.
Uh, he
Fitness guy.
he he was really amazing. He lived a very long life in great physical health and conditioning, and was able to accomplish it. And so I could give you and the audience a bunch of technical different definitions. Well, what is aging? So I came up with an everyday definition. See if this captures it for you. Uh, Everyday definition of aging: things that we want to remain supple become hard, like our arteries. The things that we want to remain firm become soft, like our muscles. The things that we want to keep, we lose, like our hearing, our eyesight, and our hair. The things that we want to keep, the things we want to remain smooth, they wrinkle, like our skin. And the things that we want to go up, go down, like our energy. And the things we want to go down, go up, like inflammation and blood pressure and cholesterol. And
Yeah.
the things that we want to stay moist and dry, like our skin and our membranes, they become dry. And the things that we want to remain thick become thinner, like our bones and our skin and our hair. That
Yeah.
sort of captures what this process is. The
Yes.
question is, why does it seem to happen faster in some people than it does in others? That's the question.
Yeah. 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 No doubt. Well, as they say, you can have a 55-year-old that is in the condition and feels like an 80-year-old doc. By the same token. So I guess it's how we, partially at least, how we live our life is all those things from exercise, what we eat, overweight, uh, working conditions, environmental, and so forth. But when it comes to our the things that we can do something about and control. I mean, the blood system is the most important body function, doc. It's 50,000 kilometers of veins and vessels. Every cell needs the blood, so it makes sense that part of the success to aging is healthy arteries. If we don't have blood, we got problems.
The cardiovascular system, meaning the heart and the vast vascular system of our body that covers over 60,000 miles, if you were to string it all together, it's twice around the planet, is critical because you've said this so many times on air, that it provides the oxygen, the nutrients, the hormones, and all of the other things that the cells, tissues, and organs need. Without that system, we're done. The brain doesn't
Sure.
work, nothing works.
Well, the
So
water, the waste, the medicine has to carry everything, doc. So it's the
everything.
only highway system. What shape would we be in our country if all the roads were closed? You'd be stuck.
Well, that's what happened with the arteries.
Yeah.
So over the years, in doing my research and in writing and publishing and whatnot, I came up, it goes to the question that you asked. how are the arteries implicated here? I came up with a list of what I call the 7 deadly sins of aging. If you listen to the list, then you can make the connection to the arteries. The first on the list is stripped down, refined, processed carbohydrates. That's white sugar, white flour, white rice, and so on. Second, saturated and trans fats is one of the main culprits here as well. And it really, the saturated, and if you pay attention, each one of these has an impact on the arteries. Stress in excess. Stress hammers the arteries like nobody's business because it increases blood pressure. Sleep deficiency, not getting enough sleep. You've talked about that many times. A sedentary lifestyle and social and spiritual inadequacy. We need to have a social life and a spiritual life. That contributes to our aging, and surplus calories, which leads to weight gain and so on. Each and every one of those 7 deadly sins of aging affects the cardiovascular system in a major way. Yeah. And then the arteries that become stiff and thick with plaque over time don't function well, and the blood can't course through it. And of course, if the pump is weak, the heart, then you're in a lot of trouble. So you hit. I've always said that the cardiovascular system is central to aging successfully. You are as old only as your arteries are old, and that is an empirical fact as far as I am concerned.
Yeah. And then once again, Doc, because everything connects inside us, everything connects. It's like that that jingle, the knee bone connect to the thigh bone and so forth. But
I remember
but truly everything connects, and you have to appreciate if every cell in our body is meant to have blood delivered to it, every single cell, then where we don't have problem, where we don't have that blood flow, and oftentimes it's soft tissues. Well, that'll reduce the life of a soft tissue. Jim Strauss always believed if we could make our soft tissues last, we could live to 125. He felt the bones were not the issue. It's the soft tissues, which of course include our cardiovascular system, all the muscles, tendons. I mean, everything gets fed blood, Doc. So, it makes perfect sense that the cardiovascular, the arteries are like the main control center that are going to govern how everything does in our body.
Well, that was an interesting assertion by him, because the oldest recorded human was a French woman by the name of Jeanne Calment. She lived to be 122 years, 5 months, and 14 days. It turns out that on her 120th birthday, they interviewed her. This is documented. And a journalist was there, and he hesitantly asked her, he said, "Well, I guess I'll see you next year," he said to her. And she instantly shot back and said, "I don't see why not. You look to be in pretty good health to me."
Beautiful.
So she lived to be 122 years, 5 months, and 14 days. Jim Strauss wasn't far off the mark. Here's an interesting fact. We got like 8 billion people on the planet?
Yep.
Right now, about 7-8 billion, somewhere in there. The lifespan, there is no recorded groups of people, a group who live to or beyond the expected maximum lifespan of 120 years. And of the planet's, whatever it is, 7-8 billion people, there are no more than maybe a couple of dozen that are 110 years old.
Yeah. So
biologically, we're on a clock. Yeah. And what all these things that we're talking about on this show to extend life and have quality of life really is in violation to nature's agenda, which is not to have us live this long.
Right.
because it knows the planet. If everybody lived to be 125, I don't know if the planet could sustain
Right.
that demand. So it's interesting, this topic. You do some. I've always thought this. I never shared this with you. I've watched you all these many years. Um, One of the things, in my opinion, this is my opinion, one of the things that I think that has contributed to the quality of your life is that you never retired, not 1 second from anything.
Yeah.
You still to this day are active. Every day you get up, Wayne Elliott has a purpose in life. It turns out, too, that having a purpose in life is key to aging successfully. There's research to support that. People who have a purpose in life, get up every day with a purpose, live longer, and have a better quality of life. I find that intriguing.
Well, and you feel you can feel a value yourself, Doc, whether you just did a nice job cutting the lawn or you did a good job at your work or whatever it is. You get that satisfaction of accomplishing something, and so no, I agree with you that having a reason to get up in the morning is very important. But back to the aging, I just read something yesterday, Doc, and I thought to myself, "Holy doodle." They talked about the issues that we're likely to have going forward because children today, I don't know who predicted this, Doc, but children today are predicted to be able to live to 100. Now, I'm not saying it's impossible. That's for sure. But what I'm saying is we've sure made some wrong turns to try and get there. Genetically modified foods and the tremendous chemicals in our lives, that man-made chemicals that we don't have equipment to deal with. Um, all the stress, if anyone watches the news, which a lot of people do, or reads the papers, there's plenty of things that don't seem to be on the right track. But I thought that was interesting that they're concerned because the children of today should live to be 100 years old. Now, I guess they're talking about some of the medical advancements, but they're not doing that well on disease and so forth either, Doc. So I don't know.
Well,
What do you
well,
think of that?
when I think of the demographers, those are people, these statisticians and demographers, um, compile these statistics and they collect a lot of different data. Our average life expectancy has increased since the year 1900. We now live to be like 78 in our country, U.S. and Canada, about 78 years old. Other countries, they live longer. It's not because, Wayne, we have done better at living a healthier life. It's because we have done better at sanitation methods. We have done better with medical science and technology to keep people alive. I mean, in my opinion, this is personal. Why would I want to live to be 100 if I'm infirmed, can't walk, and don't even know where the hell I'm at?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's not quality of life. You want to live a healthy life, a long life with quality of life. So it may be true that the children of, this is paradoxical because the children of today are victims of an obesity epidemic.
Yes.
27% of youngsters are overweight or obese, for heaven's sake. They're on blood pressure meds, cholesterol medications. They have disease formation that should happen in midlife, and they have it happening at 10, 11, 12 years old. So that's an interesting fact. I mean, maybe they will live to be 100, but what will be the quality of their life? I don't know.
You know what was frightening, Doc? Years and years ago, I was in a conversation with Jim Strauss, and he was talking about the genetically modified foods and what they lacked. And scientists had warned us as well, and that there could actually be dangers with some of it. And, all of the sugar and salt in our diet, the fast food, we have an abundance of food. I think that's another reason that maybe our population lives longer than some others, Doc, is we have lots of food available to us, lots of water, For now, anyway, we've had lots of water available to us. We don't treat it as though it's precious sometimes, but um, we have had those advantages. But he also, when we were talking about this chemical and GMO foods and so forth, how you and I, Doc, we got our start on natural foods, 100% natural. In fact,
Pretty much.
until I was at least late teens, when they came out with the first GMO food, which was a tomato. It was a terrible failure. It tasted horrible. It was hard. It was pink. It was a real failure. But from there, they did better on a lot of foods as far as the taste goes and whatnot. But this seedless business, no, can't reproduce itself. You need a seed to reproduce anything. The weaker immune systems of these plants that cannot reproduce themselves, and then we're eating the foods. And so, after this long conversation with Jim, it was quite disturbing. At the end, I said to him, "So, what's that mean to you, Jim?" He said, "Our children could very well get ill and die younger than us." And so that's why when I read this, that today's children should be expected to live to be 100. You pointed out the additional serious issue of overweight, Doc. I think that's a pipe dream extraordinaire. And to be honest with you, I think Jim Strauss, as much as it distresses me to think that, was probably closer to being correct, that they'll not live as long, even with all these medical developments. That we've had over the last few years, our food and other qualities, water, the chemicals in our life, other things have gone downhill severely.
Look, the demographers and the statisticians can make these predictions. I don't know. I'm not persuaded. I don't know what data they use to. They must have used some sort of prediction model, forecasting model, and they plugged in the data, and that's how they came up with that. I come from that world. I understand it. But that being said, in my practical experience in working with clients and dealing with people on a day-to-day basis, I know that's not scientific. I just don't see it happening. Children today are far more sedentary. Their diet is it's a highly processed food diet constituted of foods that are loaded with salt, sugar, and fat and chemicals and whatnot. They spend time, hours and hours sedentary, playing video games on social media.
Yeah.
When you and I were children, probably most of the audience, we came home from school, did our homework, and then we went outside, ate our dinner. Then we went outside. We played until the signal was when the street lights came on, you had to go home.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that.
That's right.
We were always on the move, always playing outside. Didn't sit there and watch TV and play video games. I'm sorry. To me, it's the very fundamental rudiments of healthy living that account for whether or not we're going to age successfully.
I recall now, Doc, reading this article, I do recall how they arrived at this. So this says it all, I think. You started out this way. They took from 1900 to the current day and how we'd increased our average lifespan considerably. Well, they took that model and then looked ahead 50 or 70 years. So that assumes many things, that the food is as good as it was, that you'll recall, I'm sure, when you were in school as a youngster, there weren't many overweight people, really. There might have been a chubby kid in the class, but it wasn't like today. And the same thing with adults. I mean, and I don't think it's people's fault. People just didn't decide to gain weight. It's some of the deceptions, Doc. All the sugar that's in these things, right?
If you take a human being and sit them down at a table, whatever you put in front of them, by God, they're going to eat it. And that's just how I know I'm not sounding like a scientist here, but
True.
in contrary to what that report said, I can also point to a study that was done in 2022. Babies born in the United Kingdom in 2020 will die nearly 5 years earlier than predicted a decade ago. That's what the data showed in that study.
Right.
And there was also a study done in the US that showed that we could wipe out our average life expectancy if we continue on this path. So there are contradictory studies out there
Sure.
that would suggest otherwise than saying that the children of today are going to live to 100. They may live to 100. Look, Wayne, you and I will be long gone. They're already doing this. They are growing organs. There's going to be, like you have the auto parts store. Well, we're going to have a human parts store. I know this sounds like science fiction, and they're going to be able to.
$6 million man. Remember that television show?
I do remember it. I mean,
He made this.
it sounded like science fiction then, but they're growing body parts. They're able to do this, and we can transplant parts as well. Well, my goodness, is that the way to? That's sort of like cheating in a way, isn't it?
Well, I'll tell you what they can't do, Doc, and they can put a mechanical heart in you. They can give you a liver transplant, lungs, kidneys. You know what they can't do is replace those 50 or 60,000 kilometers of blood carrying veins, vessels, and arteries. That's impossible. They can't do that, and that's why I say these bypass surgeries and stents and angioplasties and so forth. They're great, and they certainly can change how a person feels and take them out of trouble. But what about the other 50,000 kilometers that have not been changed or cleaned out? And that's why I think maintenance of that blood system is the number one health issue.
and
And keeping blood flowing. That's it.
and
That
to
is it.
that and you've said that many times, and to your point, and look, I don't come on this show to promote and sell products. I come on here to promote health. But in my practice, I use dietary supplements a lot, but I also use diet and lifestyle.
Yeah.
And in my practice, I have clients who have cardiovascular issues, and I use the heart drops. And why? Because I know they work. It turns out, and there's research to support what I am saying. This is not made up. This is not my opinion. Aged garlic extract, just that single compound, just that one alone, never mind all the other ones that are in the formula for the heart drops. We know that aged garlic extract has the ability to do a number of different things to support our cardiovascular system. One is that it helps with the arteries. I'm talking about just the aged garlic extract. I'm not making any health claim here. Aged garlic extract, based on the literature, is able to modify the slow and reduce the coronary calcification progression in the arteries. That's a fact. The aged garlic extract can reduce and regress low attenuation plaque. That's that non-calcified fatty plaque. It can not only slow it down, but it can remove that plaque, that soft fatty plaque. The aged garlic extract can attenuate moderate or severe arterial inflammation. That science shows us that. It can reduce arterial-related oxidative stress. It can prevent platelet aggregation, which causes blood clots, and it can help reduce the coronary artery disease and heart attack-related risk factors such as pro-inflammatory cytokines. That's not a health claim. Nobody can say I'm making a health claim. I am reporting based on my independent review of the literature. These are the things that aged garlic extract can do. Yeah. It just so happens that compound is in the heart drops along with the other ones as well. Yeah. So I let the audience make that leap and figure it out. whether or not, that would be a good idea to take. So,
Yeah, well, I can't say anything but good about the Strauss heart drops myself, as you know, Doc. Without them, I know I'm not here today with you. But I've also come to believe, and I've heard from so many others through the various testing and so forth that's available to folks today, is that the aged garlic extract actually helps condition the arteries and uh, try and keep them pliable as opposed to, like you talk about, hardening and stiffening. And they've related this kind of thing to so many issues, including mental issues, Doc. I'm sure you're familiar with the large study with nuns. Uh,
oh, yes, that's a famous study. Yes.
yeah, donating their brains to science, and
Yeah.
the ones that had dementia and Alzheimer's and so forth had two things on their brain that the others didn't, and one was a plaque, and the other were, they called them tangles, little black hairs.
Right.
Uh, and they suspect, and Strauss always said that aluminum is going to do us a lot of harm. Aluminum beverage cans, aluminum cookware. That was always the best cookware. The ships used spun aluminum pots. Well, you see on those pots, from scraping the serving spoons and stirring and such, you actually scrape that aluminum, and so the aluminum is a big suspect as well. But what they did see was these tangles, these hairs, and plaque, and it would make sense to me, Doc. It's almost like painting the brain. If you have a coating of plaque, I guess your brain can't work properly.
Of course.
I mean, it's
Absolutely. And Wayne, uh, even if you live a healthy life and do everything right, aging being what it is, even the arteries do tend to decline. Uh, Now, if you don't live a healthy life, too much alcohol, smoking, stress, and all of that just deteriorates the arteries. That makes it worse. The heart and the arteries, all of our parts have a biological use date, end date.
yes,
That's a fact. I mean, there are very few people that die simply because the parts wore out. That's If that happens, that means you led a good life. Most people die because of either an accident or some disease process.
yeah,
That's usually the fact. It turns out that the arteries and the heart don't do a good job in self-repair. Once you have that heart attack, once you uh, just damage the muscle and a heart muscle, and the parts of it become necrotic. Once the plaque is calcified, you can't undo that. But what you can do is feed the heart and the arteries the nutrients like you find in the heart drops, so that it can sustain itself and do whatever it can do to keep the structure and function working. So we are susceptible as a species to heart disease. I've talked about this on the show before.
yeah.
And that's why if there's nothing else that people ask me, Dr. Garko, what can I do to live a healthier life? I could give them a long laundry list. I know human nature. People just won't do it. If you give them one or two things to do, they'll do it. And one of the things we should do, all of us, you, me, and everybody listening and watching today, is take care of your cardiovascular system. Even if you don't have heart disease, high blood pressure, or cholesterol issues, or whatever, because eventually, it's going to become an issue. So keep that in mind. If you do just that, you will increase your chances of living a longer life with quality of life. And that's why you and I are so passionate about these heart drops. I mean, this product's been on the planet how long now? 40 or 50 years, right?
Yeah, 43 years commercially available. Yeah, yeah. Oh, it's a great
So,
product. I wonder, the average lifespan, I think it's in Canada 75 years old. It's a
wow.
little bit different between men and women, or it used to be anyway. One was a year more than the other. But I don't know, Doc, it's almost fair to say that by design, how we were created. It's that blood system that probably limits the average, that cardiovascular system that has the biggest effect on limiting the average lifespan to 75 years or whatever it is. I don't think it's the bones. Of course, our organs can get us, any one of them, whether it's through abusing ourselves or them not getting the blood. But I really think, I mean, it's the number one thing in your body that can go wrong, isn't it? The cardiovascular system.
It really is. Look, you know why we one of the glaring pieces of evidence about this, the susceptibility to the disease process, the arteries, are our children right now, which I alluded to earlier. We have youngsters 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. When they scan their arteries, they can see the fatty streaks starting to form at that early age.
Yeah. Yeah.
You would say, well, young children, they're impenetrable to disease. That is not true. And one of the first places the disease process starts to show up is the arteries. So that's another piece of evidence that you need to take care of your arteries. These children, it's not as if they are doing terrible things, but the one thing that they are doing is eating a cardiogenic diet and leading a sedentary lifestyle.
Yeah.
And the first place that shows up is in their arteries. Boom. At that early age.
Yet, you were the one that told us this on the air. I don't know. I think a couple of years ago, Doc. And it surprised the heck out of me, to be honest with you, that when the young men came back from Vietnam, now we got to be talking about men 20 to 25 years old by average, young men. Not only that, they don't have a sedentary lifestyle. They're soldiers. They train constantly. So these guys are generally in good physical shape. They're fit. They're not lazing around. I don't know. They probably, uh, I'm sure they get enough to eat most of the time, but they're not always hanging around the drive-throughs or waiting for the oven to produce a bunch of tarts and cookies. They're out there in the field and active. And yet I was surprised that in those young men there was evidence of plaquing and cholesterol issues at that young age for these young fit people. So it's a natural process, obviously, Doc.
Yeah, it is a natural process. And it's just dreadful as to how this is unfolding. I know we're soon going to be out of time today, but I wanted to remind the audience too that they can use the promo code TRUTH and they can get a 10% discount. And if you go to straussnatural.com, you can get that discount. And also there's a link there. It says Ask Dr. Garko. You can communicate with me that way. I'd be happy to respond to your questions and comments and do what I can to help you. And, I'm grateful for the opportunity to do that.
That's great, Doc. Thank you. And yeah, we still got some time left. So um, what I'm excited about, Doc, is the just to change the topic, switch gears, is Strauss has brought back the Woman's Wonder formula, which help our ladies during their time of the month, their menstrual cycle, and just with amazing success. And I'm glad we don't have to suffer what they do every month, but I'm very glad and grateful for them that Strauss has brought this product back to be available to everybody. And I understand that by or before Christmas, they'll have the original menopause formula. Now, we know menopause is a natural occurring thing. There's no way around it, apparently. But those symptoms that are so difficult, the terrible sweats and hot flashes and so forth, those can be helped. So we look forward to those being available. They're not yet, but the Woman's Wonder is. And I can't pretend to understand, Doc, how the Woman's Wonder does what it does. I don't know if you know anything about that with the
I
ingredients.
Yeah, I wrote a piece on it. I believe it's at the straussnaturals.com on the the
The website.
the on the website. Yeah, I wrote a nice education piece about the product and how it's created to how it's connected to the this whole issue of uh, the menstrual cramping and pain that women have and suffer from. So if you go there, it's the fancy name for that is dysmenorrhea, um, and I the article about what dysmenorrhea is, but women suffer terribly with um, with this issue. The one that product, the Wonder Drops, when you look at the formulation, it was so well formulated, and also that menopause product that's going to be coming back out again. Really will serve the health and wellness of women in a major way. Uh, that's one of the things. If you click on Ask Dr. Garko, when you scroll down, you will see the different articles that I have, education pieces that I have written, and you'll have access to that material. It will explain not only the product, but it'll explain all of the issues related with dysmenorrhea, which is menstrual cramping and pain. I explain in the piece why that happens in a very simple language that everybody can understand. It's real. It starts with young women when they
Right.
start in menses, but it can carry over into the 20s and 30s. And some women suffer terribly,
Yes.
terribly with the cramping and pain. It's debilitating. The product, Health Canada has put its imprimatur on it, a stamp of approval, as you know.
Yes.
And getting past Health Canada is like trying to climb the Alps in flip flops. But
Yeah, that's
so,
right.
so we've been able to satisfy Health Canada. Um, that product is wonderful. It is so well formulated. I don't like to get too technical. If you read my piece, it'll explain it all. But I am very excited about it. It's a wonderful name, Women's Wonder Drops. It is a wonder. And then when the other product comes out
The
for
menopause.
the
Yeah.
menopause one, once Health Canada approves that, those two things in combination will serve the women's health in a remarkable and glorious way.
Yeah. Doc, maybe it's an appropriate time to bring it up. Strauss makes that travel bug formula, which, and I love this, that it's safe for young children and expecting moms and pregnant ladies. So, and that's unusual in most of these products to have it approved for young children and expecting moms. Uh, but Health Canada has approved it, and it's specifically for nausea. It's not like the over-the-counter chemical answer that knocked the kids out. So if you're looking to knock them out for a 6-hour car ride, this won't do it. This will just help them with any nausea, air travel, boat, seasickness, and so forth. All natural ingredients. And I just love that expecting moms can take this, Doc, because I have some daughters-in-law myself, and that morning sickness business can be nasty as well. And it's different. We're all like snowflakes. We're all different. But the one young lady, my goodness, suffered every week of the 40 weeks and with nausea. And we were concerned about is the baby getting enough nutrition and so forth. And turns out that was
Mhm.
fine. I mean, nature is amazing to me. It continues to amaze me. But that's a great formula. Safe for the kids, safe for expecting moms. So if any of the moms out there are experiencing morning sickness, it may be worth a try for this travel bug formula. Also good for upper respiratory health, Canada claims.
Sure. I just wanted to say, I was looking at the piece that I wrote. It's entitled Dysmenorrhea. It's a quality of life altering menstrual cramping and pain. Dysmenorrhea creates havoc in women's lives. That's menstrual pain is the hallmark and the most common reported symptom of dysmenorrhea. Um, Now, women shouldn't be misled here. The pain associated with dysmenorrhea does not need to be severe in order to impose a deleterious health effects, and quality of life consequences. Even moderate chronic pain associated with menstrual cramping can disrupt a woman's life and quality of life in a major way. In the piece, I talk about what dysmenorrhea is, the two types of dysmenorrhea, what are the clinical features. I even talk about the pathophysiology of it, the treatment for it, and I discuss the Strauss Women's Wonder Drops was formulated using traditional principles and practices in order to provide a safe, balanced, and natural health product for women suffering and seeking relief from menstrual-related cramping and pain. It's a terrific product. It has, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 compounds, 11 herbs in it. And again, Health Canada has approved the product. And it's, you know, that agency is a tough agency, man. They're worse than they're tougher than the FDA. And so they've approved it, and it's got, you know, it's safe and effective, and it works. So I would encourage women in the audience, if you're suffering from dysmenorrhea, you know, menstrual cramping and pain, even if it's moderate, please give the product a try. Let us know how you're doing with it as well.
Well, everything I'd like to mention, Doc, there's no contraindication with any pharmaceuticals a person may be taking. And the Strauss company insists on your satisfaction. Excuse me. And if anyone is not satisfied with any product that Strauss manufactures, you are simply get a hassle-free 100% refund of your money. Strauss may have a bleeding heart, but you will not be cheated for your money. I got to tell you, Doc, I love the kidney support, the bladder support, and prostate. I've used all three, needed all three, and this current recovering from myocarditis. It's got my my blood pressure. This morning it was one. This morning it was 128/80.
Not
I'd like
bad.
to see that 80 back down to 70 where it was, and I hope
Yeah.
to get it there. It's only been 2 months really, but that's the kidney formula I've taken for that. And but the kidney, the bladder, and the prostate formula for men, they all have the golden seal root, nature's
Yes.
powerful antibiotic herb. And turns out bacteria can be a real culprit in those parts of our body and difficult to be rid of, Doc.
You know, Wayne, I've been doing this a long time, you know, over 30 years. And I've seen a lot of things come and go. There's a lot, you know, and I'm evidence. I was trained. I've had great professors, great teachers, and my mother encouraged me to get my education. Boy, I took her seriously, and it's been a journey. But you know, you can rely on the scientific data. That's useful. Then we have traditional use data over different cultures over hundreds of years. But there's also another data set. There's something I know about this natural products industry. Tens of thousands, there are God knows how many products are out there in the natural products industry. I go to the trade shows, I see a company one year, they're gone the next. Products come and go, come and go, come and go. When you have a product like the Strauss Heart Drops that's been in the marketplace for 43 years, it wouldn't last 43 days if it didn't work. Consumers are smart. Products don't last that long if they don't work. Yeah. I'm just saying, I know that's not science, but it is as a consumer, I always ask, how long has the product been on the market? Who made the product? is, what are the ingredients? What did they do? I know questions to ask, but I always ask, how long has it been in the marketplace?
Yeah,
When
yeah,
you have the Strauss heart drops, and all of these formulas have been around for decades, man.
yeah.
So that's encouraging to me. I would
One of the
not.
things that gets me talking, it got me with my own mom, my own mother, who was getting up through the night 4, 5, 6 times, always had trouble going back to sleep. So she was just exhausted often. And my mother loved life. And, she just was struggling with this lack of sleep because she had to go to the bathroom so often. And, these, in my experience, these formulas have been so effective for people that they'll get some results in the first few days or week. And then I use my mother as an example years ago. She took the bladder support, I think, for 2 weeks. And I said, "You're still taking your bladder and your heart drops, everything, Mom?" She said, "No, I stopped the bladder. It worked. And I'm just getting up once through the night." And I said, "Mom, please finish the bottle. Do the complete job. Do you want that to come back on you in a month or two? Or,
Yeah.
take that you bought it, use the whole bottle." So I like to remind people of that. Yes, with many of these formulas, you'll get some results that you're looking for quickly, but do the whole job. Do the whole job.
And
Otherwise, you'll be annoyed with something coming back on you, and why? No need of it.
even if it when it works and you finish the bottle, you continue with the protocol. You don't stop taking it. You keep doing it.
Yeah,
And so just to remind folks, today the theme was aging successfully. And if you want to age successfully, your cardiovascular system has to be taken care of. I've tried to give you as much facts and science to support my arguments as to why we need to do that and how vulnerable we are to heart disease and atherosclerosis and so on.
yeah,
So, aging successfully involves many things, but for sure, if your cardiovascular system is sideways and not working properly, your odds of living a long life with quality of life
yeah,
is significantly reduced. So I would beseech the audience I implore you, please consider taking the age garlic, the age garlic extract that's in the heart drops, along with all the other herbs. It will serve you well. I promise you, it will.
yeah. The Strauss heart drops are really something. I know it. Of course, that's our number one killer. So it's it's just a great product. But I've come to believe that clean tissues and organs are a real key, Doc. Taking the garbage out, getting the toxins out. And
Absolutely.
that's all of these products pretty much: the bladder, the prostate, the kidney, the heart drops. They're cleansing formulas. And you know, I've said this to many of the our ladies, you wouldn't stay in the kitchen long if you didn't take the trash out. So best thing we can do is keep those toxins out of our body. If you're planning a big weight loss, by all means detox during or before the weight
Absolutely.
loss program, so that a larger percentage of your mass doesn't end up toxins and poisons. You can do yourself harm, believe it or not, by
Well,
going from ten
yeah.
percent poison to 15% poison. Is
Well, we talked. Yeah,
not a good move.
we talked about that. On your show, I
Yeah,
mentioned that the fat tissue holds on to
yeah,
these toxic chemicals and compounds, and
yeah,
when you start to lose weight, these things get released. That's not science fiction. I remember the show where I
yeah,
cited the studies and whatnot to support that assertion. So you're
yeah,
absolutely right. You want to age successfully. Um, Keep the structure and function of your cardiovascular system in shape. And the Strauss heart drops will support your structure and function of your heart and your arteries. And I think you will increase your odds of aging successfully by living a long life with quality of life.
and the rewards of those butter tarts and chocolate pies and that, they're short lived, Doc. They're short lived.
Oh, man.
I loved all that stuff. And but geez, it's really not worth it in the end. And then you got to do something to counteract and go and start walking or something. But we have to try and look at those things as a treat as opposed to some kind of daily routine, or we'll be sorry. So there's
Well,
just so many bad things for us today. It's not funny. They taste wonderful, but geez, they just don't do us a bit of good.
well,
So we've got to watch it.
well, we all commit our share of nutritional sin.
Yeah.
Uh, but you don't want to commit in a religious or spiritual sense. You don't want to commit so much sin that you can't find redemption.
Right.
So we all commit. Food is made to be enjoyed, and we just have to just be moderate, like you mentioned earlier in the show, moderation. But you don't want to commit so much nutritional sin that you can't find redemption for your health, wellness, and well-being.
The best trick that Jim Strauss taught me, it was our first meal together. He taught me this, is that if we chew our food properly,
mm,
our stomach gets a chance to tell our brain that we've had enough. We maybe
yep,
don't even need to finish the plate, much less ask for some more.
right,
And it also is the start of the digestive process with saliva in the mouth and make it
yeah.
easier on your heart, your digestive process. So the time I was criticizing him our first meal together, I said, "Are you ever going to swallow that mouthful of soup?" He said, "You," he said, "you eat and swallow chunks so fast, I'll bet you could put your finger on your tongue and your liver would start producing fat." He said, "Look around the restaurant. The fat people like you are eating fast, and the
Well,
normal people like me
well,
are chewing."
yeah. I mean, I know. In this day and age, the fast way is the preferred way, but the fast
Yeah.
way most often should be the last. We have speed dating, but we also have speed eating, and
Yes.
speed eating is not good.
No.
Um, and
No.
yeah, so we don't want to do speed
If
eating.
you've got
Slow it
indigestion
down.
or heartburn, that's one way to stop that too, is to chew your food much better and slow down. Digestive enzymes are great to help your system break the foods down in the digestive process. Well, Doc, we've come to the end of another show.
Well, thank
I
you.
thank you again for being with me
Oh, it's a
and all
pleasure.
the.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Well, I love coming on with you and being with you and your audience. I'm going to get off here and I got to go to sit here for 4 or 5 hours and work. But this makes my day. I tell you that from my heart. I love being with you, brother. It's so much fun.
I think you like me so much because I did so much wrong. there was lots, there
Yeah,
was lots to talk about. I was a great example. But thanks again, Dr. Garko. Folks, thanks for listening in. Appreciate it very much. And I hope you got something from our program today. This will air this Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and every Thursday at that time. Until then, God bless and stay healthy, everyone. Thank you.
Sweet.